The Denver Broncos need to stay away from Alvin Kamara. But before we jump into that, guys, I want to thank the affiliate partner for today's video, Green Gridiron Helmets. Use code DENSYN, link in the description down below, as well as in the pinned comment, to save off your first purchase on authentic NFL helmets. Thank you so much to Green Gridiron for sponsoring this video, and now back to your regularly scheduled programming. The Denver Broncos got a big win over the New Orleans Saints last night, 33-10. They dominated New Orleans on both sides of the ball. The Saints have now lost 5 games in a row after starting off 2-0 against the Carolina Panthers and the Dallas Cowboys. We now know that both of those teams aren't exactly high-quality opponents, but additionally, the New Orleans Saints have been decimated by injuries in the ensuing weeks. Derek Carr has been out with that oblique injury. Taysom Hill's been out, kind of their do-it-all player, their personal protector on punt. He can line up at running back, tight end, wildcat quarterback. Taysom Hill does everything for them. Their top 2 receivers, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, is now out for the season. Defensively, they lost their top corner in Paulson Adebo. Marshawn Lattimore, who's kind of gone down to cornerback 2 at this point, he went down with a hamstring injury. The injuries just keep piling up for the Saints. Now, it's getting to a point where they have that looming cap crunch that is finally coming back to haunt them after all these years of kicking the can down the road. And there are serious questions if the New Orleans Saints need to take their lumps now and embrace a 2-year painful rebuild. And one player who could be on his way out sooner rather than later is Alvin Kamara. The Saints could be in the business of trying to clear some of these expensive contracts from their books in order to try to free up some money for future years. But right now, the Saints are in a position that they're just not going to win football games with the current state of this roster, with the injuries, with the aging veterans, with all the bad contracts that they have. It's just ugly. And Kamara could be that first domino to fall. But I don't think the Denver Broncos should be interested, despite all the ties that Kamara has to members of this coaching staff. We saw Sean Payton dapping up Kamara on the sideline. A couple of members of this coaching staff were actually teammates with Kamara at one point in time. Chris Banjo, I can't remember if Zach Strief played with Alvin Kamara or not. Can't recall off the top of my head, but that they might not have crossed paths, but still, they were in New Orleans together. Strief was on that staff, so they know each other. Pete Carmichael, Joe Lombardi, all of those different guys, Joe Vitt, all these guys are familiar with Kamara, but I still feel like there's just a lot of negative detractors for Alvin Kamara that make me not interested in him. I want to go ahead and bring in Kamara's stats for this season. The Denver Broncos yesterday completely shut him down. 7 carries for 10 yards, 1.4 yards per carry, 6 receptions for 14 yards in the passing game. He was taken away from the Saints' game plan. And once the Broncos took away Alvin Kamara, who's their most dynamic weapon right now with all the injuries that they have, the Saints offense pretty much stood no chance. But even when you look at these past few games, 3.1 yards per carry, 2.4 yards per carry, he hasn't averaged 5 yards per carry since 2020. It's been kind of anywhere from that 3.7 to 4 yards per carry range. Last year it was 3.9 yards per carry, and he's on pace to do that again this year. Sure, the dude has been effective in the red zone. I'll give him that, but he's 29 years old. He's about to be on the wrong side of 30. I just don't think the Broncos should give up draft capital for an aging running back, especially when you saw the best performance from the Broncos running back room yesterday with Javonte Williams, 111 yards from scrimmage. Jaleel McLaughlin was awesome. Audric Estime, he did put the ball on the carpet at the end of the game, but I thought that he had a couple of nice runs before that. The Broncos running back room appears to be in pretty good straits right now, along with the run blocking looking the best that we saw with the return from injury for Mike McGlinchey, along with Alex Forsythe really stepping up to the plate. I thought that both of those guys really ignited the Broncos' run game yesterday against the Saints. But additionally, looking at the finances from potentially trading for Alvin Kamara, This would not make sense at all for Denver. He's counting $18.5 million against the cap this year for the Saints. Although New Orleans could absorb some of it, I don't think they'd want to absorb a lot of it, considering that they're trying to clear some of these assets off their books. And then 2025, he's due to count almost $30 million against the cap. No thank you. No way, Jose. There might be other teams out there that would be interested in Kamara. Even if he were to rework his finances, I just don't think he'd be a good fit here in Denver. Sure, Sean Payton would find lots of different ways to use him, but you'd be trading for an aging asset when I'd rather use those draft assets elsewhere. That's just my opinion, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, Broncos country. Do you think that the Denver Broncos would be benefited by trading for Alvin Kamara? Do you think that it would be a good idea for the Broncos to give up draft capital and money as well to get Kamara? Drop those comments down below, guys. I would love to hear your thoughts as always. Be sure to leave a like on this video as well as subscribe and ring the bell so these videos appear in your notification feed. I would really appreciate it, guys. Those are both free and easy ways to show your support. It helps tell YouTube's algorithm to push us out, and it helps us get seen by more and more members of Broncos country just like you and me. And until next time, guys, I'm your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.